What's up? Welcome to Crosoul's Pit. My name is Little Bear, and if you're new to the channel, go ahead, give us a like, comment, or subscribe. That's right, I said or, not and. Don't do all three. It's ridiculous. Do one. Or maybe two. Anyways, we've decided to compile our Holders series into season-long episodes. So this is Season 1, Objects 1 through 10, out of 538. So go ahead, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house and you can get yourself into. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of the end. Should a look of childlike fear come over the worker's face, you will then be taken to a cell in the building. It will be in a deep, hidden section of the building. All you will hear are the sounds of someone talking to themselves, echoing in the halls. It is a language that you will not understand, but your very soul will feel unspeakable fear. Should the talking stop at any time, stop and quickly say aloud,
"I'm just passing through. I wish to talk."
If you still hear silence, flee, leave. Do not stop for anything. Do not go home. Don't stay at an inn. Just keep moving and sleep wherever your body drops. In the morning, you will know if you escaped. If the voices in the hall come back after you, utter those words continuing on. Upon reaching the cell, all you will see is a windowless room with a person in the corner speaking an unknown language and cradling something. The person will only respond to one question.
What happens when they all come together?
The person will then stare into your eyes and answer your question in horrifying detail. Many go mad in that very cell. Some disappear soon after the meeting, and a few end their lives. But most do the worst thing and look upon the object in the person's hands. You will want to as well, but be warned that if you do, your death will be one of cruelty and unrelenting horror. Your death will be in that room, by that person's hands. That object is one of 538. They must never come together. Never. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself into. When you reach the front desk, ask the clerk for permission to visit someone who calls himself the holder of the beginning. A small smile will work its way on their mouth, almost as if they want to say, "You fool." You will then be taken down a long hallway, long enough that it would lead you exactly outside the building. Yet, in clear violations of the law of space and physics, it instead leads you deep into the heart of the institution. The hall will be forever silent, even if you try to make noise. Screams will die before leaving your mouth, and footsteps will be muffled. In lieu of speech, your guide will simply point to a door. Beyond it lies a cozy room filled with a pleasant, yet an unidentifiable perfume. At the room's center, a beautiful woman holds her empty arms as if it's cradling something. This room will remain just as silent as the hallway that led you to it, until you ask a singular question.
Why were they separated?
The woman will then explain in excruciating detail every horrific event in history, every beating, every war, every rape, every killing. No travesty in history of the universe will escape your ears. When she finishes, all will fall silent, and you will be free to leave. It is up to you what you do with this information. That woman is Object 2, of 538. It is up to you if they should be joined or not.
In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the Holder of Eternity. A sigh might escape the worker as they look upon you with the utmost pity. They will take you down a flight of stairs that you might expect to lead to the basement. They don't. As you press deeper and deeper into the underbelly of the institution, you'll begin to hear a chorus of screams. At first, it'll be barely audible, as if originating from a point a great distance away. But as you approach the end of the hallway, the screams will grow clearer and more thunderous until they drone so loudly as to consume all other noises. The din will quickly become so painful that you'll feel the unrelenting urge to crawl at your own ear to escape it. Resist this impulse. The worker, stoically enduring the cacophony, will show you a door. As swiftly as they can, they will unlock it and run, leaving you alone in this cramped, dark hallway. This will be your last chance to run. If you decide to continue, open the door. The piercing wail will then end abruptly, leaving your ears ringing. The room you will enter will be coated in an almost tangible darkness that consumes all but the far wall. Manacled to that wall is an emaciated figure covered in raw lashes. He will stare directly at you with a maniacal grin plastered to his face, seemingly undisturbed by his festering wounds and the scalpel rammed into his chest. The only way to save yourself from this man's dark designs is to ask,
Who created them?
He will cackle in a manner befitting the death throes of an animal before responding. This will be the most horrific tale you have ever heard. Beyond such primitive concepts as pain and death, it'll delve deep into the very essence of evil. Those of weak mind would go mad hearing it. When he finishes, it'll be up to you to release this man from his terrible burden. Remove the scalpel, and he'll shudder once in agony before falling silent forever. That scalpel is Object 3 of 538. It is up to you if the rest should be protected or destroyed.
In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself into. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls herself the Holder of Nothing. Should a look of sheer primal disgust mar the worker's expression, you will be taken to a separate building, one that appears to be an old wooden outhouse. Inside will be a seemingly endless corridor, far, far longer than the length of the outhouse. The corridor will be completely silent. Attempting to make any sound at the wrong time is a grievous, lamentable, terrible mistake. You will notice the lights in the corridor getting brighter and brighter as you make your way down towards the end. Soon, you will be blinded by their brilliance. If at any point the lights go out, quickly shout out,
No! Stop! What you're doing is wrong!
while backing away. If the lights do not come back on, bolt for the door you came through. It should still be open. Hopefully, you aren't far enough down the hallway for it to close on you. If it does close, though, an eternity in hell would be far preferable to what you will suffer. If the lights come back on, continue walking down the corridor. At the end of the hall will lie a single cell. The worker will open the door for you while glaring at you in disgust. Inside the cell would be a mad patch of colors, arranged in several harlequin-like formations. You must not be distracted by them, for at the center of the room is a naked young woman, slathered in blood and bound by strips of human sinew. If you take your eyes off of her even for a moment, she will completely and totally destroy you. She will only respond to one question.
What were they when they were one?
She will then stare into your eyes and speak the answer in incredible detail. It will be unlike anything you have ever heard. You will be on the verge of both ecstasy and agony at her mere words. It is not uncommon for a seeker to lose themselves in the euphoria. The worst thing, however, that you can do is look upon the tattoo on her chest. Your mind will tempt you to gaze upon it, but you must resist. If you do not, and foolishly set your eyes upon it, you will fall victim to her horrifying powers. She will flay you alive and add your mutilated flesh to her bindings, and you will remain trapped with her, fully conscious for the rest of time. That tattoo is Object 4 of 538. They desire to be one again, but they mustn't.
In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house that you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, close your eyes and ask to visit someone who calls himself the Holder of Light. You will be led to a single door leading to a long, winding hallway and then told to open your eyes. Open the door. The hallway beyond it will be pitch black, but narrow enough for you to feel the walls with outstretched arms and guide yourself forward. If at any point during your trek down the hall it is suddenly bathed in light, shut your eyes immediately and quickly make your way back to the door you came in through. If your eyes stay open for more than a second, what you will see will force you to instinctively tear them out. If, on the other hand, the light stays off long enough for you to navigate the entire corridor, you will reach another door. Look down. If you can see any light escaping from the crack beneath the door, flee immediately, for what you seek is not there. If no light escapes the room, then carefully turn the doorknob and enter. The room beyond will be completely dark, aside from a single, dimly lit candle at its center. The faint light it emits will reveal the outline of a cloaked, motionless figure huddled over it. There is only one question that he will respond to. What can protect us from them? Say anything else, and the man will tear out your eyes and force you to take his place under the cloak for the rest of eternity. If you ask the proper question, a piercing scream will ring out from the candle, and a series of lights will illuminate the room, revealing images of the most horrifying thoughts, fantasies, and memories experienced by sentient minds throughout history. Most people cannot handle this event, turning violently insane or perishing instantly at the sight of such horrors. If you should somehow manage to survive the ordeal, the cloaked man will rise slowly and put his hands to your head, turning your gaze to meet his youthful face. Stare directly into his empty, gaping eye sockets, for if you look away from that terrible sight, you will be stranded in this room, forever forgotten by time itself. Do not turn to look as he opens your right hand and places a small, round object upon your palm. As that object touches your hand, you will find yourself able to ignore even the most fearsome agonies. Unless you were in the process of obtaining another object. for the pains you feel then are far beyond any worldly suffering. Know that even this newfound power will never help you cope with the horrifying images you have witnessed in that room. They will be burned into your memory
for all eternity.
The eye you hold in your hand is Object 5 of 538. The awakening has begun. They must not be brought
Together.
In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house that you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls herself the holder of song. You will then be guided to a single door leading to a long, winding staircase. It will spiral higher than the building stands, and at the top is a door that opens into a hallway. A sudden wave of heat will wash over you upon opening the door. Proceed down the hall. Eventually, you will feel much colder. You must then stand perfectly still and make no sound. If you hear a baby crying, turn and run. No harm will befall you, but the baby's cry will follow you wherever you go. If you hear it for the rest of your life, count yourself lucky. If and when it stops, your firstborn child will die. If there is no cry and the heat returns, proceed to the door at the end of the hall and open it. The room beyond will be awash in a green light. In the center will be an old woman turning a music box that produces no sound. Her legs have both been severed at the knees. When you speak to her, you must look her in the eyes. She hides a spear fashioned from the bones of her legs. Break eye contact, and she will impale you with it and leave you in seemingly unending agony to bleed to death. She will respond to only one question. What was the song they used to play? The old woman will begin to sing. The song will be in a different language, but the melody will be the most beautiful you have ever heard. Peace and serenity will wash over your mind, body, and soul. Suddenly, without warning, you will be able to see, in vivid detail, the image of carefree children playing and singing, innocent as can be. Though the scene seems peaceful and jubilant, it will eventually take a horribly sinister turn. The children will begin to fight each other. Soon, they will start to kill each other in the most brutal ways imaginable. They will impale each other on wooden poles, disembowel each other with sharp rocks, and even rip flesh from their bone with their bare hands. The image will then show these children, now merely tattered doppelgangers of themselves, spreading death and destruction more horrific than you could ever imagine. You will see a naked boy, drenched in blood, singing with delight as he runs through a hellish wasteland, pursued by unspeakable monsters. They will overtake him and utterly destroy him, the song still issuing forth from his shredded lips all the while. Despite these scenes of horror and brutality, you will remain calm and peaceful all the while, though you will not know why. When these horrific visions end, an intense pain will stab at your chest. Your heart will feel like it's about to explode. Still, you must not break eye contact with the old woman, for to do so would invite such horrors upon yourself that an exploding heart would be comparable to paradise. If you remain steadfast in your gaze, the pain will eventually cease. The woman will stand up, though you will not know how, and place the music box in your hands. The music box is object 6 of 538. When its song plays again, they will all come together.
In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of the path. The worker will try his best to keep a look of indifference on his face while handing you a key which, as he will explain, belongs to an unused supply closet in the building. If only it were that simple. Upon locating and unlocking the correct door, you will find a narrow, winding road suspended in an endless void, only occasionally disrupted by the massive outlines of things best left undescribed. To fall off the path is to be thrown out of reality itself. A nightmarish eternity of inconceivable horror awaits anyone who either stumbles into the void by their own error or is dragged off the path by the timeless monstrosities that reside on the outskirts of its creation. If you should ever feel as if you are being watched while traveling through this piece of oblivion, the best chance you have is to immediately freeze in place and hold your breath. Continue to do so until either your audience loses interest or moves in to claim you. If the latter should occur, feel free to scream as hard as you want, though your screams will fall on deaf ears. Eventually, the path will end at a door. Upon opening it, you will find a small, dirt-caked room. Propped up against the far wall will be a heavily emaciated corpse. What's left of its skin has long since blackened with necrosis. There will be nothing else unusual about it unless you approach it and ask one question.
How do they acquire guardians?
If said line is spoken, the corpse will begin to stir. A subtle red glow will emanate from its eye sockets as it lifts its head and begins to whisper the long and macabre history of the holders. It will speak of unholy pacts and unspeakable atrocities. Within time, its tale will touch upon every form of evil known to man or God, and then a few more. Furthermore, if given the title of any holder, it will reveal its history and the meaning of the object that it protects. Well, almost any holder. You see, it will never go into detail about itself. This is because the ghoul hopes that the visitor will not question why it seems to be lacking an object. Truth be told, its object was somehow sealed inside its skull, and the ominous glow from within its eye sockets is actually the shining light of the object trapped inside. That is object 7 of 538. Its holder will do anything to keep you away from it.
In any city, in any country. Go to any mental institution or halfway house that you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of wealth. The worker will raise one eyebrow as if puzzled by your request. Ask a second time, and the worker will shrug and take you across the street where an opulent mansion awaits. The mansion was not there when you started your request, but it's best that you not preoccupy yourself with the mansion's origin. Its owner would rather not scare you away. Inside the front door will lie a grand staircase, spiraling up across the foyer. The walls will be covered with fine paintings, and a large marble statue will rest on a pedestal by the base of the stairs. The statue's eldritch features will evoke an image of a truly horrific beast, at once both evil and alien. Admire it all you want, but don't touch it, unless you wish to awaken the starved monster. Ascend the staircase. As long as you touch nothing, you will be in no danger. Don't panic. At the top of the stairs will be a small, unassuming wooden door. It will open for you, so long as you're not afraid. You should see a man with a pointed goatee and short, cropped, gelled hair standing behind a large desk of what will appear to be mahogany. His suit will appear to be made of both human flesh and Italian silk. He may speak, and at great length. He will talk about his amazingly beautiful house and the lovely statue of his concubine resting downstairs. Do not interrupt him, and do not answer any questions he may ask. When he is finished, steel yourself and confidently ask, "May I have my salary?" He will proceed to explain to you, in great detail, the value of life. He will talk of things worse than death, and he will tell you exactly what he expects you to do. The fabulous interior of the room will rot away, and the floor will turn from French weave to feces. His own appearance will become unimaginably cyclopean and horrendous. He will then fish out a small banknote from inside of his human suit and hand it to you. That note is Object 8 of 538. Its holder is counting on you to spend it.
In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of wisdom. The desk clerk will chuckle and guide you to an empty room. They will hand you a key and tell you to wait some time in the room until you hear a bell ring. When it rings, you have to go through the locked door which you entered. Wait until a second ring and unlock it. Once those instructions have been carried out, the door will open all by itself and reveal a long hallway with every conceivable color painted onto the walls, ceiling, and floor. Follow the hallway until you hear a little girl singing. Stop, close your eyes, and stay where you are until the girl finishes the song. If you fail to remain perfectly still, run. Run back to the door through which you came as fast as you can. Jump through the window of the room where you waited earlier and you might live. Should you be unable to reach the window in time, you will be dragged back into the hallway by something that is definitely not a little girl. You will be pulled by this horror until time itself ends, forever feeling the pain of every soul dragged to an early grave. If on the other hand you manage to remain perfectly still until the song ceases, you will be free to either turn around and leave forever, or venture further into this realm. If you prefer the latter course of action, walk deeper into the hallway until you reach a human-shaped door. Open it with the same key that was given to you earlier. Step inside and close the door behind you. In the middle of the room, you will see a desk with a bright candle. Behind the desk is a man whose face isn't visible behind the shine of the candle. Approach, but always keep the flame between you and the man's face, for if you witness what he looks like, your gaze will be fixed upon his until your own hands have removed every inch of skin from your bones. Stop when you are 5 steps away from the desk. The man will raise his hand and gesture you to come closer, but do not step any further than this. Close your eyes and ask him one question.
Who will bring them back together?
You will hear the man raise from his chair and begin to pray in a language that you will not understand. After 2 minutes, you will hear a name. If you hear Anubis, then you had best utter your own prayers in the short time that you have to do so. But if it is Thor that you hear, you will open your eyes. You will see the man's severed head laying on the desk, still speaking. After another 3 minutes, his prayer will cease, and he will tell you how you will die. He will describe every minute detail of your horrible death, and you will be unable to move or react while he explains your end. Lastly, he will describe the one who will steal your life away from you, and go into such detail as to why it is necessary that you yourself will question which would be worse, you being murdered, or being allowed to continue to live. Eventually, the head will finish its ghastly tale. It is Object 9 of 538. It is up to you what you do with the knowledge of your own death. For now, it is inevitable.
In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit a man who calls himself the holder of ambition. The sound that escapes the mouth of the worker will be so slight and betray so little reaction that you may not be sure there was any reaction at all. They will lead you towards a stair that only travels upward and is lit by many windows. At the top of the stair, the worker will leave you to travel the hallway alone, and the calm of the windowless hallway will seem eerie and unsettling. Should you see a shadow travel along the wall, do not follow it, for it's the one thing that will lead you to where you do not wish to go. To a place you can't hope to return from, to a place of your own silent fears and failures. No matter what form it takes, how it teases and taunts your dreams, with the greatest of your desires and hopes, do not even let your eyes tempt you to where it leaves. If you make it to the end of the hallway without losing sight of your goal, you will see an open doorway with no locks, no bolts, and no restraints, waiting for you with a soft light. If you choose not to enter it, only walk directly back the way you came, without attempting to peek around or into other doors, or you will meet the shadow and what it hides. Should you enter the doorway, you will find a room lit by many windows that cover the entire length of every wall, too high to reach, and shining with a light that seems far less natural than the sun and moon. In the center of the room will be a tall, healthy man, standing naked and looking out into the light. His body is covered in uncountable tattoos and scars, where none of his skin is recognizable as it once was other than his face, Should you look where he looks, you will see nothing and learn nothing. He will react to no act or words other than the question.
What joins them together?
The man will look you in the eyes. Do not meet his gaze, or you will lose yourself in his soulless eyes for eternity, if you are not prepared. If you can meet his gaze without the slightest doubt of your intentions, he will begin to speak in a low tone, speaking almost as if the entire story is comical or means nothing at all. But you must not miss a word, for taking this knowledge partially could cause failure in the worst way possible. When he finishes speaking, he will reach for his chest and remove the remaining sutures from one of his more noticeable scars and begin to bleed profusely. While he slowly bleeds to death, he will reach out to you with his bloody sutures. His last words may be heard throughout his own gurgling blood, choosing
To seek leads to an inevitable fate.
The group of sutures is object 10 of 538. How you use them depends on what you hear.